Hello everybody, I'm Professor Ellen Jakovich, and today we're going to solve a problem of equivalent taxable bond yield. So, right in front of you, you have a problem. A 5 1/4 municipal bond is trading at par. What is the equivalent taxable yield of this bond for a taxpayer in a 35% combined, which means both federal and state taxes, tax bracket? Okay, first of all, a municipal bond, you buy it and you're going to receive 5 1/4 coupon payments annually, or maybe split into semi-annual. Either way, the income that you get, this 5 1/4 annual yield, is non-taxable to you. You get the whole amount, you stick it in your pocket. So, what they're asking here is, what about a taxable bond? To equate to that return, 5 1/4, how high would the yield on a taxable bond have to be to equal that? What's my break-even point? So, whenever you have a finance problem or an accounting problem or anything, the first thing you want to do is identify, what am I solving for? So, in this case, we are solving for, as you well know, equivalent taxable yield. So the second step is to find the formula that applies to this. So if you look in your course materials, you are going to find that there is a formula for equivalent taxable yield, and it's that the rate of return on the taxable bond times 1 minus your tax rate will equal the rate of return on the municipal bond at break even. So basically, we get to, once you've found the formula, you're just going to plug in what you know from the problem. So we're going to do that too. We don't know the rate of the taxable bond. That's what we're trying to find out. What would the equivalent yield be? But we do know our tax rate. It's 35%. And we know the rate of the municipal bond. Now take note, we don't use the percents. We use the decimal version of the percentages. So 35% changes to 0.35 and 5 1/4% changes to 0.0525. That's always going to be standard. Most of the problems you do in a finance class, you need to convert everything to decimal, work the problem, and then at the end you can convert it back to percentage points. So when you solve for this, actually, before we move on to solving it, I want to point out something. Why would it be 1 minus the tax rate? Well, think about it. You're getting income from this taxable bond. You don't get to keep all of it. You're going to have to pay 35% of that income to federal and state. You don't get to keep it. So how much do you get to keep? 1 minus the 0.35, your percent rate. You get to keep 65% of that income. So you're saying I get to keep 65% of what I'm going to get, the rate on this taxable bond. So that's why it's 1 minus T and not just times your tax rate. If you were solving for how much you were going to pay to the government, you'd multiply times the tax burden. But you're trying to find out how much of this do I get to keep, and you keep 65%. So then the next step is, after you've plugged and chugged in all these numbers, you're going to solve for it, and it's going to look like this. You've got to get R taxable by itself. So this whole 1 minus 0.35, you're going to divide both sides by it. So you divide this side by it, you get R taxable. You divide this side by it, you get this mess. So it ends up equaling 0.0808, which when you convert back to percent, which you need to do on rates, it's 8.08%. So why is this useful? It is useful because smarter decisions means you get to have more money in your pocket. Basically, what you're looking at in this problem is, if you can find a bond that pays you 8.08%, It's the same as if you got a 5.25% municipal non-taxable bond. So that means if you find a 7% corporate bond, you should not get it. You would do better to have a 5.25% municipal bond because you get to keep more. On that 7% bond, you're going to lose 35% of it to the government. Not good. So basically, any bond over 8.08% is a better deal than the municipal bond. See how this helps? So have at it and good luck solving these problems.